Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra.
And welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of the Bison Media Zone on WDAY Extra. The Forum's Jeff Kolpak joins me in his tradition right before we head to Sioux Falls for the Summit League Tournament to do our yearly tournament predictions as we get set for the first time. Jeffrey, the tournament moving off of its traditional Friday start or Saturday start and Tuesday finish. It actually starts today to finish on a Sunday, which they're hoping that they have bigger crowds come for the weekend for the most important games instead of on a Monday or a Tuesday night.
Yeah, speaking of the days, Dom, did I overhear you ask Dave Richmond, what's it going to take to win 3 days in Summit?
3 games in 3 days.
What do you think he's going to say? Oh, yeah, we got big plans on all 3 days. We're
Gotta ask.
South Dakota,
Gotta
no
ask the
problem.
question,
Yeah,
man.
we're going to just stomp on them. And then next guy's coming in.
I guess I could have phrased it better because
Yes.
you know this. Richmond has had a formula of going down there and doing just that, of winning 3 games in 3 days where they may be overmatched. I look, just a couple years ago, they got to the Summit League tournament game, championship game. I don't know if anybody thought that would happen with that team.
However, I'll give you a little word of caution, and I think one word is, or one phrase is, they were a better defensive team back in those days, I think. And this year's team is more about the shooting and maybe a little more free-flowing offense and just not as good as a defensive team, I think, as what he's brought to the Denny Sanford Premier Center in prior years. That being said, I think it's still pretty wide open.
Yeah.
I know we're going to get to Jackson Money here in a second, but if he could play, if he's better than we think or projected,
Or rumored to be.
or who knows what, they have every chance in the world to go down there and win 3 games.
That's the 1,000-pound elephant in the room is what's Jackson Money's status. We arrived at the Shack last Wednesday and saw Money in street clothes on senior day. He obviously did not play with what's still an undisclosed injury. We still have not got any other information out of the head coach on that.
What do we think it is?
I mean, it's been rumored from everything of a wrist injury to a broken hand. I mean, it could be a variety of things. His status, though, is unclear. And as of now, I think if you're a Bison basketball fan, it's probably preparing that he's not going to be available, at least for the game Friday against USD.
And the guy right next to him, Brennan Watkins, too. He has a bad back, although I would think he'll try to give it a shot. It's his last go-around and his last shot. And so, bad back, I don't know, you can't really shoot those up, but maybe
Watkins has had everything
happen
happen to him this year, though, from a broken face to now this.
Yeah, but Jackson Money, that's a concern. He's a matchup problem for other teams with his length, his height, his ability to hit the 3. And when he's going, when the Bison are going, and when they're cooking, all 5 spots can hit the 3. And if that happens, then look out.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yep.
I mean, if they get hot, there was a period during the season, more toward the middle of the conference season, when they were one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the country. I mean, not just around here, everywhere.
Yes.
And they were just a threat everywhere. If they can somehow get back to that, and the ability's there.
Yeah,
it's tournament time.
It's the matchup nightmare that he creates when he's on the floor, and when he's not out there, it's just such a different basketball team. Now, to that point, Derek Doucette came in and had the game of his life in the game against USD a week ago today. 16 points, 13 rebounds. And if you're going to win a conference tournament championship, you have to have an unsung guy. Maybe it is a guy like Doucette that can come, because he comes in, he gives them energy. That is something he definitely can bring when he's out there on the floor.
We just saw it there when he just took that rebound away from South Dakota. That was just pure effort. Look at that. And that's what it's going to take too, is some guy like that. Now, I wouldn't depend on Derek Doucette to come in for instant offense. I mean, that's not his game. But defense, rebounding, sparking. Now, there's a guy, Stefanowicz, I think, needs to get some offense going too.
Yep.
I mean, I think Andy's been really good at dishing the ball, seeing the floor. His next step is being an offensive threat. Now, I don't know if that starts this weekend, but at some point he needs to elevate that part of his game. And so, but you're right. There's got to be some unsung guy to break out for 18 points or something like that if Jackson Money can't go.
I mean, you're not counting on Luke Kasubke to score that, but maybe a combination.
Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe you spread it out, like 10, 8, 8, something like that. That might be enough to weather the storm of not having a guy like Money. They need Jakari White to be big. White was big in the game against South Dakota. He's going to have to do that in spades if they're going to advance at any point of this tournament.
Yeah, Jakari, he's got the good inside-outside game. He brings that energy too. And he's got to do. Remember against Butler when he was 7-9 from the field?
Unbelievable.
National TV just took that team down the stretch and put it on his back. That's the Jakari White that the Bison are going to need this weekend. I mean, they're going to need that guy, and especially in the second half, just hit the big key buckets. You win games in tournament play by having the alpha guy, the guy late in the game that says, "Give me the damn ball.
Yeah,
just give me the ball."
Noah Feddersen comes to mind to me. Like, Feddersen has had flashes of it where, at the end of the South Dakota State game, had a huge basket and a huge block to seal the game in Brookings. That's the kind of play. If he does that, the Bison could be a formidable outfit to be knocked out of this tournament.
Well, of course. And one thing I've seen about Noah, I think he's been inconsistent.
Yes.
And he's been inconsistent in his offensive threat. I've seen him where, even late in the year, he's 6'10". He had a guy 6'5" on him. Take him to the hole.
Yeah.
Noah, take it. The guy's 6'5". Take him to the hole. I mean, be that guy. Be that guy and try to get the traditional three-point play or maybe dunk over him. I mean, I know it sounds easy, but everybody, all 5 spots, need to have an aggressive mentality of taking the ball to the hole or finding their open spots.
The all-league teams came out yesterday. The men's first team was going to be a debate on who was going to win Player of the Year. It went to Markel Sutton from Omaha, which I voted for him. He was the best player on the best team. I thought he earned that. Jackson Money was a first-team pick. Oscar Clough from South Dakota State was there. J.J. White, the great guard from Omaha, was there. And then Chase Forte, who is dynamite from South Dakota, was the other member of the first team, along with Miles Barnstable from St. Thomas. And St. Thomas is just the most balanced team, I think, of the 9 that are going to be in Sioux Falls. I don't think any real qualms with the 6 guys who made all Summit League first team this year.
No, I guess my question is, of these 6, how many are going to get offers from a bigger school next year if you're not coming back with.
Well, I mean, Barnstable's the only
only
one coming back. Well, Clough does have another year.
Clough has another year
because of the JUCO
Jackson
deal.
Money being the Division II kid, does he have another year? That's debatable too.
And that goes back to their conversation. We're talking about his immediate future because there is professional basketball ahead for Jackson. So I think he's done one way or the other.
But no, I have no problems with Sutton as the Player of the Year. And again, he took a team that was picked 6th or 7th in the league before.
8th. Omaha was 8th in the preseason poll. Yeah.
Took them to the regular season title. Yeah. Slam dunk pick for me.
On the women's side, no surprise, you're going to have plenty of South Dakota State flavor there. Grace Larkins, though, was the Player of the Year. We saw Larkins score 47, the highest point total in a mid-major game this year for the University of South Dakota, and the Coyotes finished 7th. You have any issue with that? Because her team didn't win many games, but she was by far the best player.
No, I don't on that just because her stats were just so far and away from everybody else. I mean, I look at the points, that's one thing, but look at the rebounds. Look at the
every category.
So that to me, I mean, that's a no-brainer Player of the Year.
Yeah.
Now, if you were just 24 points, 3 rebounds, 1.3 assists. No, not at all. Not in the slightest. But that is just that's crazy.
Well, and that goes back, talking about South Dakota, like Chris Strevler, what he did in 17, and he should have won the Peyton that year. If you take Strevler off that South Dakota team, the Coyotes win 2 football games? If you take Larkins off this team, they win 2 basketball games. They're not good.
Boy, yeah, they got some work to do around her. I mean, and she's leaving too.
Correct.
So. You look at this first team. Avery Coonan, I think, is a player that just came on so well this year. The 6'2", athletic. Jory got her. We were talking about NDSU players taking it to the hole. Jory, over the course of this season, got her to be more aggressive and take it to the hole.
Yep.
You're 6'2", you're a former triple jump high school champion Minnesota. You can get up. You have the hops. You have vertical capability. I mean, you are an athlete. Be an athlete on the floor.
Talea Jones and Jaylee Oglesby from Oral Roberts on that list. And, of course, both the Myers, Page, and Brooklyn from South Dakota State. We'll get to our picks at our next segment, but it goes without saying. Avery is the next, I think, budding superstar in this league. That's the scary part because Elle Evans was on that same trajectory, and we know what happened with her. And you look at those players, I mean, Page is moving on, Larkins is moving on. The rest are, you hope, are back in this league next year, but you can never take anything for granted.
Well, you were there yesterday. I asked Jory about her,
Yeah.
and if he's worried about her being poached by other schools like Al Evans was last year, and Al, after the Bison lost to the Gophers in the WNIT, had every indication, every look, every vibe we got that she was coming back, and a week later she was gone. Well, Jory said, I'm not really worried about Avery Coonan. I'm not sure. Obviously he said she has a home here.
Yeah.
And so I guess until I don't know. I never say never anymore on the portal.
Let's talk about Avery a bit of what she did this year. Coming off a 30-point game in the regular season finale, which she did against Omaha, had 8 games of 20 points or more in Summit League play. She's going to have to be dynamite for the Bison women, Jeff. They're the 3 seed. They're going to get Kansas City coming up on Friday afternoon. That's a Roos team that has traditionally been a bugaboo for the Bison. You remember a couple years ago, Kansas City knocked off NDSU at the Summit League tournament.
Yep. Well, they're going to have to handle their press,
Yes.
and that's going to be number one. Hope for a tightly contested reffed game. I would say would be a big deal for the NDSU women.
Definitely how it affects this game.
But
yes.
besides that, though, I think NDSU has the best chance to beat South Dakota State of any team because of her, because of number 22 there, because of Abby Draper, 6'2 senior, been around the block. At least they can somewhat match up inside better than any other, I think, Summit team. And that gives you a shot to beat South Dakota State. Now, I mean, and especially defensively, the only way somebody's going to beat South Dakota State this year is if the Jacks just can't throw the ball in the ocean from the three-point line.
Now, I'll go back to that game in Brookings between NDSU and SDSU in January. The Bison were tied with 3 minutes to go, and then the Jacks did their usual thing and scored the final 8 points. And I know you're going to look back to that game in Fargo, Jeff, and SDSU just totally dominated that game where the Bison just weren't in it. But if you get into a scenario like that, the Bison have proven that they can hang with SDSU. It's a matter, can they get there to the championship is the bigger question.
Well, last year in the Summit League tournament, final game was NDSU, SDSU.
Yeah.
NDSU actually led for more than half the game.
Yeah.
And they led for more than half the game till the fourth quarter. South Dakota State rattles off 14 points in a row, I believe.
And that was it.
And wins in the fourth quarter. The Bison were just cold from 3-point. That didn't help.
Nope.
And so you need to somehow take in they'll need that too. South Dakota State started off slow that game. The Bison took advantage. It's just so hard to close it on that team.
Just a matchup with Oral. If they get through Kansas City, it's going to be Oral Roberts. We'll get to that after we come back to
another
commercial
deal too.
break. That is going to be a really big challenge there. We'll break. We come back. We'll do our predictions on the men's and the women's side. Who's coming out of Sioux Falls with the automatic bid? Back here on the Bison Media Zone on this Wednesday morning. Right after this on WDAY Extra and Inforum.com. Welcome back, everybody, here on the Bison Media Zone on this Wednesday morning. This is the bracket. It starts tonight in Sioux Falls with the play-in game between Oral Roberts and Kansas City as the 8-9 matchup. Kansas City was the preseason pick to win the league. Again, you talked about this with me on Monday's Hot Mic on. It's like throwing a dartboard blindfolded right now about trying to pick who's going to win the league. Omaha, obviously, the one. Then you see the bottom half of the bracket, Jeffrey, is interesting to me. You got St. Thomas there at 2, and then the Jackson UND will be the game following the Bison in South Dakota coming up on
Well, just
Friday
for
night.
the record, I never got a preseason vote, Dom.
Yes.
So this is an indictment on you, not me. I would have picked.
I did not pick Kansas City to
I
win
would
the
have
league,
picked
by the
Omaha
way.
personally. I just thought they were coming
Yes,
on.
everybody had Omaha here. All right, let's do it game by game tonight. Oral Roberts, Kansas City. Who you got?
I got Kansas City. I just think ORU's checked out.
I think we're going to have a change at Oral U's head coach as well, potential there to keep an eye on there. Kansas City to advance. We'll start in the bottom of the bracket. St. Thomas and Denver. I like St. Thomas in that one.
I like St. Thomas, but I'll
could
do
be
the
tight.
old Lee Corso. but close. But close.
How about the Friday night nightcap? UND beat South Dakota State earlier this season up in Grand Forks.
But this is down there,
Yeah.
and the fans will show up at the Premier Center. I think Oscar Clough is just really good, and so I got South Dakota State certainly in that game.
Omaha against Kansas City. We have the Mavericks.
Yeah, we
I
got
think
the
both
Mavericks,
winning there.
right.
All right, to the top of there. NDSU USD. Bison won the 2 matchups against South Dakota.
Yeah, I just this Jackson Money thing is troubling to me.
It is.
If he was around, I think it'd be a no-brainer. I think Jakari White has been playing pretty good all year. I'm going to take NDSU just because of their higher seed right now.
I'm trending in that direction as well to pick the Bison, although they played a dynamite game a couple years ago in the conference tournament, went right down to the wire to Javis Miller, had that huge block to seal it.
And Mason Miller is a really good player, too. I mean, he's a guy that can shoot you into the semifinals.
Chase Forte's a really good player with that. I think the Bison win, but it's really close. So then we have Bison, Omaha, South Dakota State, St. Thomas in the semifinals.
Yeah, without Moni, I just think Omaha is going to win this game. I just think this could be trending their year. Now, in the lower bracket, you've been on St. Thomas all year. I know McFeely said you just love the Tommies, and are you on their?
I'm not on their payroll. No,
their booster board. I got South Dakota State. They had an injury late in the year too. That
Owen Larson is done for the year.
Yeah.
Yep.
But I like the Jacks.
Okay.
I like the Jacks in Sioux Falls. I'm just not going to pick against them.
I'm taking St. Thomas there.
Okay.
I think it's gonna be St. Thomas, and I think it's gonna be Omaha in the championship. And I'm picking the Tommies. I think they're the most complete team. I think they can win this conference tournament.
Now, in this whole thing, I go back and forth for every 10 minutes who's going to win this tournament. From
really
Omaha
is
to
wide
South
open.
Dakota State to St. Thomas. Are you packed your purple suit?
Well, I don't know if I'm going to need it if we're going to be there that long, but
that's true.
Omaha's never made it to the Division I men's basketball tournament. They've been in the championship game a couple of times. They lost to the Bison.
And they got the player of the year, too.
They do.
Sometimes when you have the player of the year, there's
maybe
a guy
it's overthinking it.
Yeah, you can put him on his back, and I think we've seen that so many times over the years where the best player in the league puts his team, again, on his back and gets you to the big dance.
Look at Taylor Braun, what he did for the Bison in 2014 in a game with Fort Wayne in that championship game. He willed the Bison over that last 6 minutes to win that game, and obviously we know the rest is history in 2014.
And you look at Bison players up and down.
Lawrence
Alexander.
Yep.
The
following year.
Yep. I'm going with the best player.
Okay, so you've got Omaha. All right, on the women's side, now South Dakota State has won 63 regular season games in a row. Obviously, they are by far the heavy favorite. The question is there an upset along the way to face the Jackrabbits, or is it straight chalk? Do you think it's Oral Roberts, SDSU?
I've always wondered, there hasn't, for South Dakota State, at some point, do you ever get shocked?
So the 1 year they did was the COVID year. They got beat as a 1 seed, and they lost to the 8 seed that year. That was the only time, but that was the weird COVID year where they were playing the games at the Pentagon that year.
Yep, and there's no
That's
fans.
It, right.
Yeah, I remember covering that way in the upper bowels in the corner with my mask on. So, throw that out. So
the answer to your question is no.
No, probably not. It's such an upset-proof team because they're so strong inside. They have, I think, the best guard in the conference in Paige Meyer. And
they have the best post in the league, too.
They're a veteran team. They got everything, But it is March, but, that would be, in the old Stranger Things have happened, that would be the very, very, very
strangest. Yeah. I think they're going to get St. Thomas in the semis. That UND finished 5th. They won 6 league games. That tells you, though, from 5 to 9, the bottom of women's basketball was not really good in the Summit League.
I think St. Thomas played them okay for a half. I'm talking about South Dakota State.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Oral Roberts, I think, could be scary.
So
ORU,
that's the thing. We could have a rematch of the semifinal last year. I think the Bison are going to beat Kansas City. I do. Grace Larkins could scare Oral Roberts. That's the thing. Can she, as a one-person team, beat Oral Roberts?
No, not even close. Okay. One player cannot beat 5. I like ORU's athleticism. I think it's going to be ORU and South Dakota State in the final. I just don't know if the Bison have enough to beat ORU.
They split during the regular season. The Bison actually handed Oral Roberts the game up here. But then Oral Roberts forced 30 turnovers on NDSU when they played in Tulsa. I think the Bison are going to get through. I think it's going to be SDSU, NDSU again in the championship on Sunday. But it's the Jackrabbits to lose. Last year NDSU had the opportunity, and SDSU still won with all those players hurt. So they're not losing.
All the South Dakota State fans now that are watching us in South Dakota, are you bored by this? Is it getting
I
old?
don't think so. You're going to see
bored?
They're going to show up.
I'm kind of bored at it. Are you?
The rest of us watching it, but
it's like Bison football.
The rest of us are bored of watching Bison football win all the time as well. Jeff and I will be down there for coverage beginning on Friday. Again, Bison women 2:30, Bison men at 6. Complete coverage at Inform and WDAY to see the Bison basketball teams have a shot at the NCAA tournament. We're back here next Wednesday on the Bison Media Zone at 10:30. For Jeff Kolpack, I'm Dom Izzo. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. See you next Wednesday, and we'll see you on Friday from Sioux Falls and the Summit League basketball tournament.